Have you ever wondered why you react a certain way to criticism or why certain situations make your heart race even when there is no real danger? Think of your brain like a house with electrical wiring. Some of those wires were installed when you were very young based on your experiences, and they might not be serving you well today as an adult. So, today we're exploring how childhood experiences create these automatic responses, and most importantly, how we can rewire them for a healthier, more fulfilling life. The beautiful thing about neuroplasticity is that our brains can change throughout our entire lives. You're not stuck with the wiring you developed as a child. Welcome to Adjusting. Welcome to Adjusting, a safe space for candid conversations about mental health and well being with your host, Justin G. Nelson. Whether you're recovering from trauma, redefining your purpose, managing mental health, or simply craving more authenticity, this show is for you. I hope something resonates with you and helps you on your own personal journey. So sit back, relax, and let's start adjusting. And we're back with another episode of Adjusting Podcast with your host, Justin G. Nelson. And before we get too far or even started with this episode, I just want to say thank you for the birthday wishes. Woo. If you didn't know, my birthday was last week and I am 36 years old. And I am grateful for all the birthday wishes and the text messages and phone calls and the interesting arrangements of happy birthday and just the words of encouragement. And y'all really made me feel good as someone who is still working on taking compliments and praise for things. I really sat with it. Like yesterday, well, not yesterday, my birthday was just a day of reflection and appreciation. And that's what I did. And I appreciate you all. But moving on, thank you to TJ with Tea with TJ podcast for editing. And make sure you follow his podcast and support him. And if you want to follow my vegan lifestyle page, you can do so by following at Earthy and Cultured. You can follow my branding and marketing company, which is Type J Marketing, or you can follow me and my creative journey to Broadway and TV and film with my performance page at Justin G. Nelson. Also, if you're into books, I'm in a book club, and I'm just going to throw that in there too. At A1 Book Club, we're doing a lot of books, and yeah, whatever. So anyway, that is that. With Substack, please make sure you go and subscribe there, where I am doing adjusted perspectives, which is a summary of the podcast episodes. I'm dropping all of them, and you can just catch up. Okay, so all 20 something episodes we posted by the end of the month, hopefully. And then the next part of Adjusting Affirmations, which is my YouTube affirmations video, you can check that out and get those affirmations. The next one will be coming out this month. And lastly, a new thing that I am launching sometime this year, maybe August, will be Adjusting Annotations. And this is just me reading the self-help books that I recommended in the previous episode and annotating them and creating some type of study guide for you to use. Hopefully I can get some of the authors from these books on this platform, or even you if you've read the book. So if you would like to be a guest, be sure to fill out the form. Okay, great. Housekeeping. We've done with that. Now, I invite you to take a sacred breath with me today. We are going to continue on with the 4-7-8 breathing. We're only going to do one this episode simply because it's hot in the studio and I can't do more than 2 or I will pass out. In theory, you can do 3, but after 3, you got to take a break. I do have my water here, so we're hydrated, okay? But if you are driving, focus on the road. You can come back and do a sacred breath later. If not, I invite you now to ground your feet, relax your ankles, relax your shins, relax your knees, your thighs, your hips, your hip flexors. We store a lot of trauma there. And today, I want you to place a hand on your stomach. Check in there. That's where a lot of creativity is born. That's where life is born. That's where life is supplied. And move up to your heart. Place another hand there. really take some time to center your breathing to your heart. Relax your neck, your chin, your cheeks, your forehead, your eyes, your ears, all of that. All of that. Just relax it, relax it. I'm going to demonstrate the breathing. This is why we're only doing one together. I want to demonstrate it to you just so you are really getting the maximum benefits of this. So this will count as 2 for me, but 1 for you, which you can pause and do it twice. Okay, so the 4-7-8 breathing is you breathe in for 4, you hold for 7, and you release for 8. So I will tap just in case you're watching or you're listening, so that you can hear the cadence at which I'm breathing. Okay, so we're going to breathe in. All right, take a second. Now do it with me. Close your eyes. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and out. 2 on a hiss. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and let it all out. Great. Okay, so again, do that twice, 3 times if you're feeling really good a day, and it will really help you just recenter and reground your nervous system. Okay? Perfect. So today's episode, it was inspired. I want to say it was something I was watching on TikTok or something I might have heard at church or a sermon I was listening to on Instagram. I don't know. But a lot of my episodes come to me either from a therapy session, and I stop, I go research, I talk to my therapist about it, I'll send them some notes, and I create the episode. So today's episode is about adjusting your wires and how rewiring yourself will help you to live a more prosperous and passion-full life so that we can do away with anything that was done in our childhood. Not saying the childhood wasn't important and what you went through then was not significant to who you are now, but it does not shape who you are now, okay? It shapes who you are now, but you are able to reshape that so that you can be the person you know you're meant to be. That will make sense later. All right. So, what are these wires? Well, our nervous system develops based on early experiences. It's like our brain security system learning what's safe and what's dangerous. For example, when you know a car is coming and your ball has rolled in the street, it's dangerous. Don't run your butt out there to get the ball. You're going to wait. You're going to look both ways. If you walk it down the street and you hear roof, roof, well, I mean, there's a gate, yeah, but some of them dogs were like back in the day, they jump fences and they will chase you. I've been chased by a dog, and I'm alive to say I was fast. Okay, baby, y'all couldn't tell me nothing. No words came out. I was trying to scream. I was like, I was running for my life, but I made it. But these are different times. Like that's a traumatic wire or some like fear-based wire. But these wires, when you're children, our brains are incredibly adaptable and create patterns based on what we experience repeatedly. These patterns become automatic responses. They're not conscious choices. They're survival mechanisms. So I want to break down 5 of the common childhood wiring patterns. I'm going to hold your hand. I'm reaching out. I'm holding your hand when we do this because a lot of these, I think I'm probably 3 of 5, if not 4 of 5. And I'm working to become like 2. But let's get started. So the first wiring pattern is the hypervigilant wire. Okay. So this develops when a child's environment feels unpredictable or unsafe. This looks like yelling, a lot of domestic violence, verbal abuse, emotional instability. You never know what mood you're going to encounter. And sometimes it's not even alcohol. It's just anger management or people of authority not knowing how to manage their emotions. So they do so by just lashing out. Maybe there was yelling, like I said, emotional instability, or you never knew what mood you encounter when you came home. As an adult, this shows up as consistently scanning for danger, difficulty relaxing, even in safe situations, over analyzing social interactions, or feeling like you have to be on at all times. So, like if you let your guard down, or you're just not like on top of things, you feel you have this tension, or this your wires start to become frayed, and you're just like, it's like something's not right. You might find yourself reading into every facial expression or tone of voice, always waiting for the other shoe to drop. So this is a lot of anxiety, but then we'll get to that one later. Another one, the people pleasing wiring. Stay with me. This forms when a child learns that love, attention, or safety depends on being quote unquote good. Maybe you had a parent who was only warm when you were well behaved, or anger felt so scary that you learned to avoid it at all costs. You knew that when your parents got home, and everything, the chicken wasn't out or thawed or defrosted, and the dishes weren't done, and the clothes weren't washed, folded, and put away, or your homework wasn't done, or you didn't study what they feel long enough for a test or anything, like there was just that tension, like, I'm not making them happy. Or you could do everything and it's still not done to, this is not parenting, but like you can do everything, but it's not done to their standard or how they want. And it's just like, God damn, like I can't win for losing. And so it just becomes a stressful form of people pleasing wiring. As an adult, this looks like saying yes when you mean no, avoiding conflict even when it's necessary, prioritizing others' needs rather than your own, or feeling guilty when you express your authentic thoughts and feelings. Give me a hug. Give me a hug. It's okay. You are not alone. But the next one, the perfectionist wire. Now, this develops when mistakes felt catastrophic as a child. Maybe there was harsh criticism, people saying, I know for me, I was teased for like, you're gay. And I was just like, I'm a child, okay? Like, just because I dress a certain way or carry myself a certain way, I instantly label as gay. If I didn't want to eat a damn sloppy Joe sandwich and I wanted chicken tenders because I don't like messy food, I don't like, maybe I have sensory overload. Think about things like that. Or when people are comparing you to others, well, such and such went to school and such did this and such. Okay, good for them. Yeah, they got a trophy. I ain't got nothing to give them. Okay, I'm trying to live my own life and do what I want to do. Or you receive more attention for achievements than for simply being yourself. Like everything you did was tied to an accolade and not just you as existing. That stuff that can do some things to your brain. Okay, the brain learns to avoid mistakes through impossible standards. As an adult, this shows up as procrastination because nothing feels good enough to share. Because you're just like, I don't have the right filter on this. This isn't the right font. The color is off. This doesn't flow well. Like all those things. Difficulty celebrating successes. You're always looking for the next high, and you're just like, oh, this is okay, but like gotta keep working. I gotta keep going. Harsh criticism or feeling like your worth depends on your performance. Here's another hug. Just give me another hug. Okay, great. The fourth one is the isolation wire. Now, this, I have a soft spot for people with this type of wiring. This forms when relationships consistently felt unsafe or unpredictable. Maybe there was emotional neglect, betrayal, or you learned that depending on others led to disappointment. The brain learns that independence or self-reliance are safer than vulnerability. So as an adult, this looks like difficulty asking for help, keeping people at arm's length, or feeling like you're bothering others when you have needs. And I find that a lot of people who wear the title of not wanting to be a burden deal with this isolation. Be a burden. I promise you, people have space for you. This is not where this episode was going, but I just want to pause and say, like, that is something that I really don't like when people say, well, I don't want to be a burden, or I don't want to, like, no, you not telling me what's going on is the burden. Okay. Yes, I have a lot of things going on, but I would rather you get it out and us figure out a safe, healthy plan of action to move forward than you feel like you have to carry the load. Or if you want to carry the load, take it to Jesus, okay? Take it to the Lord in prayer because he'll help you. He will give you the tools and help you figure out the next step, or someone else to help you do it if you don't feel that I'm that person. And then the last thing is the control wire. This develops when a child's environment felt chaotic or unpredictable. Maybe there was an addiction in the family or constant moving because the people were looking for you, or instability that made you feel powerless. The brain learns that controlling every detail is the way to feel safe. So as an adult, this shows up as an anxiety kind of wiring when plans change. I hate when people change my plans. I will self-destruct. I will crash out and I will go lay down. Difficulty delegating, micromanaging, or feeling responsible for outcomes that are actually beyond your control. So, important note, most of these things or these combinations of patterns, most of us have these. A combination of all of them, and they exist on a spectrum, but there's no judgment, okay? These patterns develop for good reasons. Your brain was doing the best to keep you safe with the resources that it has, but this is why I made this platform, and this is why I wanted to talk about this episode and the wiring, because while your brain did what it could and did what it needed to do between the ages of like 4 and 18, at your old age now, you can actually do some work to rewire yourself so that you cannot respond to everything from a negative POV, or you can put yourself first so that you're responding from a heart center and not a reaction-based response. So why do these wires persist? Our brains prioritize survival over happiness. And that is why we are always looking at the negative or the bad of things and the outcomes of things, because that's how our brains are wired. And I know as Christians and in the faith-based community, we condition ourselves to say, well, think about the good, and I think it's a scripture that goes with that. But when it comes to just our brain, so even some of the patterns that stick around, they just stick around because they kept us safe. And these responses happen faster than conscious thoughts. They're stored in the emotion part of the brain and not the logic. If I were like a brain person, I could tell you like all the parts of the brain, but I don't know all that. Okay, and this is why I am not a therapist. What worked for the 7-year-old you might not work for the 35-year-old you. But the brain doesn't automatically update. And this is where the next part of this episode comes in, which is section 2, adjusting your wires. Okay, so science of rewiring, neuroplasticity. I think we talked about this in season 1, but it's basically our brains can form new neural pathways throughout our lives, okay? So every time we respond to a trauma or a trigger differently, we are creating new pathways in our brain. So essentially, when someone says, hey, you hurt my feelings, and your automatic response or your initial pathway is, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm a horrible person. What can I do to make this right for you? It would never happen again, yada, yada, yada. When you do the steps that are coming, you can say, hey, you hurt my feelings. What did I do to hurt your feelings? Thank you. You instead of responding with the protective POV, you respond with like, let's figure this out together, because clearly there was something you did to make me respond the way I did, but I want to make sure moving forward the responses are better so that you understand where I am and I understand where you are. Okay? So Before we talk about the different the phases of rewiring, I want to share more of my therapy experience when it comes to this form of rewiring. So right now in my therapy practice, I do CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. And a powerful tool for rewriting with cognitive behavior therapy is that it's one of the most effective approaches for rewiring our thought patterns and responses. So it is based on the data or the idea, sorry, that our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are all connected. So you change one, you change them all. Okay, one step at a time. And this is kind of how it works. Again, I would probably like if you are in therapy, mention this to your therapist, or I can share some more resources with this, but this is just what I've gathered from my therapy sessions. So, CBT teaches us that our thoughts directly influence our feelings, which then influence our behaviors. So, for example, if you think I always mess things up, thought, you might feel anxious or defeated. That's the feeling, which leads to procrastination or avoid challenges. That's the behavior. So, cognitive behavior therapy helps you identify these patterns and interrupt them. Okay, so this is how you can identify cognitive distortions. So these are inaccurate or unhelpful thinking patterns that keep us stuck. So common ones include all or nothing thinking, either I'm perfect or I'm a failure. Catastrophizing, this will ruin everything, or mind reading, they think I'm incompetent. So it's like that instant thing when, like, for me, if I send something to a client and they was just like, "What's this not clear?" And it's just like they think I'm dumb. No, you weren't clear. Okay, so you ain't finna guilt trip me. But anyway, CBT helps you recognize these distortions and replace them with more balanced thoughts. One thing I do, I have a notes app on my phone, which I'm using to record, but I keep things or conversations or triggers or topics or anything like that I feel are triggers to me that I wouldn't just think of on a day-to-day basis, but they come up and it's like, oh, this is something that I really need to unpack in therapy. So I always recommend keeping a notebook. I'm working on an adjusting journal. So that might be something I want to purchase at some point. And you can keep it with you if you want. And some behavioral experiments with CBT includes encouraging you to test your fears and assumptions through small experiments, like with people you trust or your therapist or just a safe space. If you believe people will judge me, if I share my work, you might experiment by sharing one small piece and observing what actually happens versus on the idea of what would happen. So like you have to just get your feet wet a little bit and like throw a little bit out there. It's just like, okay, this wasn't bad. Let me try again. Okay, it's being responded to well, instead of post and delete and then run away and hide. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Okay, so here's the part that I really like for this episode, and this is called the rewiring process. It's 4 steps, all right? So step number 1 is awareness. This is about becoming the observer of your own patterns rather than being caught in them. Start by noticing when you're in an old pattern without trying to change it. For me, this is when I am identifying my anxious attachmentness when it comes to like friendships or relationships. And I will clock myself instantly. I'm just like, oh, nope. You're doing it again. And it's not from a place of shame or criticism or anything. It's just like, Justin, you are trying to rewire yourself. You are trying to change those old habits that don't serve you anymore. How are we going to do this? So this might look like thinking, oh, there's my people pleasing again, or I'm in perfectionist mode right now. I'm really over analyzing and really over critiquing my creative process. And this video, I'm comparing myself again. Like, no, we're not doing that. We're just going to be aware. Okay. The key is curiosity, not criticism. You're becoming a detective of your own behavior. So many people try to skip this step and jump straight into fixing or the change aspect, but you have to be aware and lay that foundation for all of the transformation to happen. Okay. So, number one, awareness. Number two is my favorite. Number two is the pause. Yes. Okay, great. So, this is about creating space between the trigger and the response. Because some people just like to pop out. Okay. But no, we can't pop off. You can't do that. You have to pause. You pause, and you pause when you notice yourself being activated, and you try to buy yourself more time. So this might be taking a deep breath, not like count to 10. I don't believe in that, but just take a deep breath, or excuse yourself, like, hey, let me go get some water, or I'm go to the restroom right quick, or someone's calling. Anyway, just excuse yourself from the scene or the situation, or simply say, let me think about that and get back to you. Okay. So just stall to give yourself some time to pause. The goal isn't to stop the feeling or reaction, but to create space where you can choose your response instead of reacting automatically. This is kind of like reclaiming your power or choosing you in the moment. The pause is where the power lives. And that can be applied to a lot of things. Because if you are in the heat of a moment or heat of an argument and you pause, baby, you liable to scare a lot of people. Silence is heavy, okay? I choose silence sometimes. I just go, Now my face says something else, but like in the moment, are you good? No. I have nothing to say. I do have something to say, but I'm really relishing in my response because I want to make sure what I am going to say next or do next is coming from a place that will serve future me and not this present emotion. So step 3, after we've become aware, we took the pause, now we are making a choice. So step 3 is choice. This is where you consciously choose a different response. Ask yourself, what would I do if I wasn't operating from this old pattern? Or what would the person I'm becoming do in this situation? Yeah, this might mean setting a boundary instead of people pleasing, or sharing imperfect work instead of perfectionism, or asking for help instead of isolating. Yeah. The choice might feel uncomfortable at first, but that is normal. That is a part of the healing process and you rewiring yourself. You're doing something your nervous system isn't used to, but your body and your brain will trust you to make the right decision. And then step 4, after we aware, we pause, we choose, now we are going to practice. This is about repeating new responses until they become authentic. And no, I'm not saying rehearse responses. I'm just saying repeat the new responses, whether they come up with the same person multiple times or in the same environment. Just repeat those responses until they become authentic. Each time you choose differently, you're literally building new neural pathways. Okay, so remember the neuroplasticity I mentioned? This is how you are strengthening that and creating new pathways. The more you practice, the stronger these pathways become. Think of it like learning to drive. At first, you had to think about everything. You had to make sure 10 and 2, okay? And you cool, and this is straight over here, and this is good over here, and you look, like all those things, you get to the point you got one hand up here, child, and it gets easier as you practice. I remember the first time I drove. My cousin was upset, but it's okay. No one died. But I didn't realize, because I've seen other people do it. And so I thought, oh, well, they did it. Let me do it this way. And when you turn and you're supposed to guide the wheel to come back, I let the steering wheel go. Yeah, that was tragic. But again, no one died. Okay. But the same is true with new emotional and behavior responses. Just step by step, okay, until it becomes comfortable. So important things to know about this process, though. This isn't linear. Okay, you might cycle through these steps multiple times with the same pattern. Some days you'll catch yourself in step 1. Other days you'll catch yourself in step 3. But each step is a victory, even if you don't make it to step 4. Goal isn't to never feel triggered, it's to respond differently when you are. And this is kind of interconnected with the nervous system, and our bodies hold the patterns too. So, like shallow breathing, muscle tension, digestive issues, those are all wires in how our nervous system is structured. But rewiring includes helping your nervous system feel safe to change. So some of this has to be done in silence. Some of this has to be done in a safe space or in community with people with like-mindedness. And simple practices include deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, spending time in nature or journaling, or just going in the field and screaming. Yeah, just make sure people know like you're okay, but you just like, you just get it done. Yeah. Okay, so section 3, applying your new wires. So I like to compare this to any scene from a movie with a bomb. Okay, Rush Hour, if you saw Ironheart, like any scene with a bomb. Yeah. So we know that all those wires are there. You have a red one, a blue one, a green one, a black one, sometimes an orange one. They don't really do yellow wires, and then a black and red one, and a green and black one, and a blue and black one. I think that's enough wires. But anyway, think of all those wires. Think of all those things. And if you are able to adjust those wires and rewire them, you will not set off a bomb. Perfect. So if you are able to rewire your emotional wires and figure out what works where and how to stop the fuse from going off, this is what we're going to talk about here. Great. So number 1, the daily check-in. Okay. If you want to set an alarm here and there just to check in with yourself, but I like to do it like when I'm about to eat, I do a check-in, like an emotional check-in. How am I feeling right now? Was there anything before this meal that I just want to be just like, okay, we slipped today, but we are going to acknowledge that, figure out tomorrow or this evening how we can do better. How am I practicing what I'm preaching or what I'm consuming? Like just kind of a check-in with your wires. This builds awareness and helps you catch patterns before they take over. So it's like installing an early warning system for your old wiring. Like the Real ID, like you can still use it some places, but like you need to really get everything in line before you fly again or whatever. Like you want to make sure this new system is secure and ready to move in. Yeah. And then number 2 is a pause and reframe technique. So when you notice yourself getting triggered, use a simple formula. Pause, breathe, ask, choose, and that's it. And repeat. So pause, breathe, ask, and choose. Pause, whatever you're doing. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what story am I telling myself right now? And then choose a more balanced perspective. For example, if your boss asks to meet with you and you immediately say, shit, I'm in trouble, pause and ask, what else could this mean? Okay. Maybe they want to give me a raise, or maybe they want to give me some good feedback or something else. Like it doesn't have to be negative. Now I will say when my pastor called me, like, what happened? What I do now? He's like, no, you funny. You do. Listen, you only call me when something bad happening. So I just need to know like what happened. And number 3, the opposite action method. Now, this comes from cognitive behavioral therapy. But when you notice yourself wanting to act from an old pattern, do the opposite. When you find yourself wanting to reach out to somebody, no. It's easy. If your people-pleasing wire wants you to say yes to everything, practice saying, no, let me check my calendar first and get back to you. Yeah, it leaves some type of mystery. I'm just like, maybe, but no, let me check and get back to you. If your perfectionist wire wants you to keep editing forever and ever and ever, set a timeline, set a timer or a deadline and hit publish when it goes off. I mean, check for grammar first, but then just post it. Or if your isolation wire wants you to handle everything alone, text one person and ask for help. Don't text me though. Text somebody else because I'm struggling over here. So I ain't got it. But that is the whole cognitive behavioral part of the opposite opposite action method. And number 4 is the evidence collection practice. So start keeping a simple note in your phone of evidence that contradicts your old wirings. Yes. If you have perfectionistic wiring that says, I have to be perfect to be loved, collect evidence of times you are loved when you are being your true and authentic self. Or if your perfectionistic wiring makes you feel that if it's not perfect, I don't have to post, collect evidence of when you just posted something as simple as you yapping and people loved and connected with it. I know, it's just beautiful. It's the evidence collection practice. Try it. Try reaching out to a client and say, hey, I just wanted to check in and see how everything was going, blah, blah, blah. And they say, oh, thank you so much. You're really good. Instead of you thinking that everyone hates you, like they love you. They love the work you do. And number 5 is the identity shift exercise. So create a simple phrase that represents who you're becoming, not who you've been. So instead of saying, I'm a perfectionist, try, I'm someone who values progress over perfection. Instead of, I'm a people pleaser, try, I'm someone who honors both my needs and others. Or use this phrase when you're making decisions. Ask yourself, what would someone who values progress over perfection do in this situation? This helps you make choices from your new identity instead of your old patterns. Great. Okay. So bonus tip for all the methods, start with just one method and practice it for a week. So if you want, you can start with the evidence-based collection practice. I really like that one. So start with that one and just see, if you're a perfectionist or people pleaser, just start collecting evidence to show that you're doing the work and you're rewiring yourself and you can show up however you want to. Yeah, start with that one. Remember that feeling uncomfortable is normal. You're literally rewiring your brain. Celebrate the small wins. Noticing a pattern is just as important as changing it. Be patient with yourself. This is a lifelong work, okay? Because some of y'all listening to this might be 50 trying to change some patterns, but you got to give yourself some grace and take some time to do it, okay? So in closing, I just want to remind you that your current wiring was developed when you were young and it served a purpose then. It kept you protected, it kept you safe, it brought you to where you are now, but they might not serve you anymore. The beautiful truth is that rewiring is possible at any age through awareness, practice, and tools like CBT or therapy and small, consistent changes that create lasting transformation. So last week I shared with you a couple of books. In the previous episode, we talked about nibbling, gorging, and making a container or adjusting your plate and adjusting your garden. So go back and listen to those episodes. But don't try to change everything at once. Just notice one pattern, one wire, experiment with those things and see what really works with you. So if you know someone who can benefit from rewiring that hypervigilant or the people-pleasing wire or the perfectionist or the isolation, those wirings, send this episode to them. Or you can send them the Substack blog and say, hey, check this out. And if this makes sense, go listen to the episode because he does a really good job at breaking this down and making it make sense, right? Say yes. Great. Thank you. So until next time, keep adjusting and I will see you next week. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. I hope you take something away to help you make the adjustments you need. Before you go, please take a quick second to share this with someone you care about. And if you can, please leave a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform you're listening to this on. For more information about adjusting or to inquire about being a guest, head over to adjustingpod.com. Until next time.